It's Cageside with John Morgan.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Cageside with John Morgan. I'm your host, Eric McMahon. Some, maybe a ho-hum card to most people at the Apex this past weekend, but there was some notables that came out of it. Particularly Garcia looked absolutely fantastic, and something happened in a heavyweight clash that we have literally never seen before. We are going to dive into that. Next week, there's an Apex card. We're not going to talk too much about it because 322 is the following week from MSG. When it's a fight night at MSG, you know it's a big deal, especially when Islam Makhachev is going up in weight to try and capture another belt. There's a lot to talk about. So with that being said, let's bring in the man. His name is on the marquee. You can find him on X, John Morgan _MMA, the general manager of CFFC. It's John Morgan. What's up, brother?
Hey, man, you can't tell me a card is ho-hum if Eric McMahon is in the building to do some officiating. You know what I'm saying? At that point, the level of the card has just been elevated tremendously. You no longer even need to pay attention to what athletes are scheduled. You just know it's time to tune in to see Eric McMahon do his thing. But no, it was good to see you out there, man. I know it's been a busy stretch with the NBA season starting and all that, but cool to still see you getting those assignments and getting some airtime as well, by the way. I mean, getting featured prominently on the broadcast.
Wow, man. Who would have known? We'll get there. Well, it's a funny little story. You sending me texts in real time, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? Anyways, with that being said, yes, Apex, Steve Garcia, he looked amazing. I was sitting next to who was it? Maybe Chris Tione or the other ref, and I said, like, I can just watch Garcia fight every single day of the week. And this was before I said, because this guy can put a pace on you, and he's going to keep that pace, and he's going to keep coming forward. And he didn't need to weaponize his cardio. He didn't need to weaponize his pace. He overwhelmed him, and he looked fantastic in doing it.
I almost hate to say it's his best performances because he's had so many good performances as of late. I mean, that's 7 in a row with like 6 finishes in there as well. I mean, the dude is getting it done. But you're right, man. Stylistically, he's just fun to watch. No matter who you pair him up with, it's going to be a fun fight. It's going to be a good fight. And the man just could not miss. I mean, everything he threw was landing. He was pressuring. And I got a lot of respect for David Onama, who I think is a fantastic fighter. But Steve Garcia just went out there and dominated him, man. And really, I think kind of announced his arrival.
And let's not act like Onama didn't land punches. He did. Garcia just walked through them. I mean, Onama was like, and he was throwing fast laser pinpoint strikes too. It was just when you get overwhelmed like that, the tidal wave just happens, and that's exactly from my view of what happened. And usually, Garcia is going to wait, and that's going to happen. He can beat you down through attrition and things of that nature. I mean, he does got a lot of quick finishes on his record, but. Even with Calvin Kattar, he just overwhelmed Calvin Kattar over the course of 3 rounds. Now, a lot of his other finishes were first round, second round. But it's that onslaught of what really happens. And this time it just happened really early.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of funny because I feel like he almost did wear him out through attrition. It was just 3.5 minutes. I mean, he's just not – it's relentless striking. I mean, there's no time to breathe. There's no time to set up anything. There's no time to just kind of get yourself into a rhythm and, hey, let's find the balance and the flow to this. I mean, Steve Garcia was just pedal to the metal full on from the very, very start. And, man, I mean, I think, we kind of talked about it going in, right, that this is an opportunity for the next level, the next wave. I mean, we know all the names that we love to see on the pay-per-view cards. We know all the stars that we've been following. But Steve Garcia might be one of those names that, people haven't really been paying attention to, even though he's been on this nice streak. And so to get a main event, to get a spotlight, to get an opportunity like this, and then to go perform, I mean, if that was your first time watching Steve Garcia compete, tell me that you're not going to perk up a little bit the next time you hear his name is on a lineup and you're like, hey, I want to tune in and watch that kid. So I just thought this was a really, really great performance, kind of a statement-making performance to this kid. by the way, amazing on the microphone afterwards, talking about the journey that he's had and God behind him, and he made a promise and he's just put in the work and he's nothing special, but he just worked. I mean, I just thought he couldn't handle anybody other than maybe the call out of Max Holloway. That was probably the point where he messed up a little bit, but nonetheless, it was a great performance.
Utter confidence in himself also. I mean, now listen, I read that. I didn't get to watch the interview because there was a lot to debrief that night from a commission standpoint. So we got back immediately and we started debriefing. So we weren't going to be there hours and hours and hours because there was a lot to debrief.
Yes, there was.
Should we get right into it? Because
we should. I think it's definitely the biggest topic, especially given what's happened in 2 consecutive weeks, right? You know what I mean? I don't want to take away from Steve Garcia's
outline this for outline. Throw it out there for us, and then we'll get into it.
So, I mean, really, as you said, it's something we've never, ever seen before. One of the craziest sequences of events I've ever seen in my life. Waldo Cortes-Acosta, Ante, Della, heavyweights, big-time matchup. They go at it. And early in the opening round, you see Waldo Cortes-Acosta kind of cover up against the fence. He's turning to the side. Ante Delija has tagged him with a punch. Looks like Waldo Cortes-Acosta is rocked, and Ante just keeps throwing shots. Mark Smith steps in. Doesn't formally wave off the fight, but he does step in and stop it, and everybody in the building assumes that fight is over, right? I mean, I'm telling you, from media, from the announcers, everybody in there, judges got out of their seats, you know what I mean? Everybody thought the fight is over. Then you go to the instant replay just as normal, not necessarily, we don't know at this point, and you can give some sign on that, but you just start seeing the replays in the building production-wise and immediately see, oh my gosh, there was an eye poke that started that. That's what caused this. Was there was a scrape of the eye as Ante threw it, and so you go, oh, I guess we're going to have a no contest. But there's still activity going on. There's still everything's happening, which you can outline because you got a front row seat to it. You got featured on TV, even though you weren't an official part of it. And they restart the fight, and as they restart the fight, Waldo Cortes-Acosta immediately lands a big shot, and he ends up getting the knockout victory. So it goes from Ante Delija knockout win to what seems like it's going to be a no contest to a Waldo Cortes-Acosta win in bang, bang, bang succession. And complicating matters in the story of everything, Ante Delija just happens to be the teammate of one Tom Aspinall. So that just added a little flavor to what is already a bizarre situation. So that hopefully sets it up. If you didn't see it, that's kind of how things unfolded. And you obviously had a front row seat for it all and watched it all unfold and what the commission did and how they reacted on it.
I've never seen it before. I don't believe.
And by the way,
before.
And not just, and when we say we've never seen it before, I want to be clear about this too. At any level, like I'm not saying I've never seen it in the UFC. I've never seen that exact sequence of events at any level in any fight organization.
So I'm there privy to the conversations happening. So let's set the stage. Herb Dean was the official RO. He was the replay official on the fight. Mark Smith was in the cage. And I'm kind of just a fly on the wall. I'm done with my assignments for the night. And so I'm sitting in the commission seats right behind where RO is. Immediately, when Delia hit him, he starts covering his eyes, right? So when Cortes-Acosta starts covering his eyes, and the onslaught keeps coming, the punches keep coming, they keep coming. We hear Mark Smith on the broadcast says, "You got to fight back. You got to fight back." Jumps in and stops the fight, maybe 3-4 seconds after the alleged eye poke, but with a succession of a lot of punches. Okay. Right. So now it becomes it's confusion, and so I jump up and go to replay because I immediately know what I want to look for, and I know that Herb is already looking for it. So we jump up and we go to replay. So we start dialing it back. In the meantime, Mark Smith walks over and he goes, "Replay it, but I saw punches." Right, and you can even hear it on the broadcast. I saw punches. Yep. Which. Of course you see punches. There was 1,000 of them coming at a time.
And you and I have talked about it here, right? I mean, there's no way. Nobody saw the eye poke in real time. You know how difficult it is to see the eye. It's impossible. Nobody saw it in real time.
If Mark Smith is being implicated in this for anything, then just let's take that and throw that out the window, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's start there.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
He protected the fighter. He did his job.
Yep.
That's where it starts and that's where it ends. Now let's go to cleaning up what we can clean up. Now, this is from being a fly on the wall. The fight ending sequence happened due to an illegal blow, due to an illegal foul, right? And it didn't end the fight. The fighter could continue. Yes, it is completely unfortunate for the opposite fighter. It is completely unfortunate that you probably have an adrenaline dump because of what you think happens. It's completely unfortunate. But let's be clear about what happened. The fight ending sequence started with an illegal foul that was then confirmed on replay. Okay? And this isn't a fight ending sequence that started 30 seconds earlier, or even 15 seconds, or even 10.
Right.
We're talking bam, 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 bam. 3 seconds, maybe 5 at most, right? So, with that being said, Herb Dean is the GOAT, man. He jumped up right away. I jumped up. I looked over his shoulder, and we're dialing it back. Like it's really hard to dial in. Or we're like, where did it even happen, right? Because there was succession of 6, 7, 8, 9 punches, right? And so we tried to, bam. It happened on the frame to throw the shot, right?
Right.
And then that snowball took effect. So Herb jumps up. Mark's like, I only saw punches, but the reaction lets me know. So please look it back.
Right, because it could have been like a broken orbital or something. You know what I mean? Like it could have
been a knuckle. It could have been. I mean, we see that all the time. Every show we see somebody go like this, and then we find out it was a knuckle. We like.
Yep.
So Herb, I can't say. I mean, he's just so good, and like everybody can call balls and strikes, but for him to process scenarios in the moment, like I know Herb gets a lot of crap sometimes. I don't know why. From like he'll let somebody die in there, or he'll like listen. This guy is a savant with these rules. Okay, he jumps up right away and. Because he can process this is fast. I'm going to go let Mark know about his options. Herb Dean didn't make any call. He let Mark know about what options are available to him. Because this fight-ending sequence was initiated by an illegal blow. If said fighter can continue, we are going to do the right thing and let him to continue to fight. That's at the pretty much. It's as simple as it is. Now, tremendously unfortunate. Never happened before. Never seen it before. And you probably want to know why? Because you don't have a guy like Herb Dean sitting at RO. We are like, it's just so fortunate that Herb Dean was sitting at the replay official. He was there because if I was sitting at RO, I would have been like, it's got to be a no contest. It's got to be.
Yep. Yeah,
just
it's
like
funny, man. So
99.99% of the people thought it was going to be.
Absolutely. I thought for sure. As soon as I saw the eye poke, I thought for sure this is going to be a no contest. And I think, a very important point to clarify that I spoke with an official as well is that, it's because Waldo Cortes-Acosta wasn't like concussed. Like if he'd have gotten dropped or something like that, where there's a possibility that he's concussed, nope, we're stopping that. Fighter safety is paramount. We can't let that guy continue
the whole time. He just wasn't fighting back.
Yeah. Even you could tell. Like I think Mark kind of stopped that relatively reluctantly, right? It wasn't like he was taking concussive blows, but that's not intelligent defense. You can't just cover up and turn against the fence. So that's why he stepped in. So I thought everything was handled right. And I'll tell you what's interesting too is I went back in real time as the fight was going on and rewound the broadcast that I had up because I wanted to see how long, because there was confusion, right? And I'm like, okay, I see what everybody's doing here. This had to have taken longer than 5 minutes because I wasn't sure if the injury time had started or if even the timekeepers assumed this fight was over and so they didn't start a clock, etc. Went back and timed it out under 5 minutes, right at the 5 minute mark, but under 5 minutes. So I mean, even like
they were on it, and Herb was in there. Honestly, Mark Smith's a great official. Okay. But I want to praise Herb Dean in this situation. Herb Dean was helping manage this whole thing, right? Herb Dean was kind of standing in the cage, just being like, get the, get the water out, get this out. The only people, inspectors, the only people in here right now are the doctor and the referee. Get the corner people out of here.
Yep.
Like he helped Mark manage this, and I don't want this to say like Mark couldn't have managed it by himself. I know that I probably couldn't have because it had never happened before. So luckily,
and I was going to say,
brains are coming together.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and everybody in there wasn't on the same page, meaning cage crew, meaning support. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people everybody thought the fight was over. You know what I mean? As you said, we've never seen it before. And, it's not like, you can have the unified rules of MMA, but that's one thing that we talk about as well, right? It does, you have to manage the rules sometimes, right? There is, you cannot find a rule in the rule book that says, if a fighter receives an eye poke and then it's stopped and you think it's a TKO, but you know what I mean? Like there's a framework.
What does John McCarthy'y say all the time?
Go through the checklist, right? Go through the checklist. And I thought going through the checklist of what's best for the fighter, what's best for the fans, the sport, the organization, I thought that was all served. Now, I will say, I do feel – so I was even a little bit torn, to be honest with you, because, as you said, 99.9% of people thought it was going to be a no contest. I saw it. I thought it was a TKO. As soon as I saw the replay, I'm like, damn, that's going to be a no contest. And then when they restart it, and it happens within 5 minutes and everything's done, I thought of the John McCarthy'y checklist. I'm like, well, if you go through the checklist, I'm like, this probably is the best possible outcome we're going to see. Now, it instantly flipping the result of the fight, like immediately, felt unfortunate for Ante, right? It did feel very unfortunate.
That's why I started that way. That's why I started with,
That's the one. So I'm a little bit torn inside. You know what I mean? And again, this is uncharted territories. And of course, when you restart the fight, you have no idea that it's instantly going to flip the other way and all those things. I mean, you're just trying to have a decisive, fair outcome to the fight. This contest that people have signed up for. And so on the one hand, I'm like, man, I think everybody did everything by the book. And this was an unprecedented situation. It was handled accurately and everybody did a great job. But there's that little piece of my heart that just feels bad for Ante and like, damn, maybe a no contest would have been an easier result or a better result. But I don't know. That's taking the opportunity out of Waldo Cortes-Acosta's hand. And it's also another co-main event, big fight that ends in nobody wanted the fight to end like that.
Let's take it from Acosta's point of view then. We're arguing it from the flip side. Let's take it from Acosta's point of view. I got fouled. I can continue. And now you're robbing me of the ability to continue because I got fouled, but yet the doctor says I'm able to continue because I didn't take any concussive blows. Where's the fairness in that, right? So I'm not disagreeing with you. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
But there's always a flip side to that argument.
It's a great way to lay it out, right? I got poked in the eye. This is the biggest fight of my career. It's a co-main event. It's a ranked, matchup, top 10 heavyweights. And now you're taking that opportunity away from me. And, oh, by the way, I also don't get my win bonus as well, which is a huge part of how I'm taking care of my family. Like, you're robbing me of that opportunity.
And the doctor said I can continue.
I say I can continue. I want to get to, so you're so right. So while my heart goes out to Ante, had it ended in a no contest, then your heart would have to go out for Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Like, what just got taken away from him? And then we find out he's having like some tragic situations with his family and a child at home. And then you think, again, you robbed him of that opportunity to advance his career. You robbed him of that opportunity to get the second half of his paycheck. So I really do. Again, crazy moment. I thought everybody involved handled it incredibly. And then you get to the live text part. I thought it was funny because I saw you going over. By the way, the replay system that the UFC has for you guys is incredible, right? Like, because you get all the camera angles and you can control you're not waiting for production to tee it up for you or whatever. You get to see exactly what you want to see. It's phenomenal. But I saw you go over there, and obviously I know you, and I know your passion for the sport. I know that you're not involved officially with this bout, but because Herb has already made his decision and he's up talking to Mark, you're like, let me go check this out. I want to see exactly what I'm saying. And the camera zooms in on you, and it made me crack up a little bit because to the untrained eye or whoever's watching, they probably think like, well, there's the guy right there making the call, making the decision, and I had to let you know.
And then you have Mark Ratner come into frame, and he's talking to Jeff Mullen, and I'm in between them because then Mark Ratner jumps on the broadcast because Mark Ratner, who is the vice president of government affairs for UFC, who works with the athletic commission, right? They're talking through me as I'm like,
it just made me laugh. I'm like, it looks like you're the one in charge of it. In reality, you're just like, I got to see this. I want to know for myself.
And it was me and one of the doctors were watching it just as curious bystanders.
That was amazing. That was great. It was great. Weird situation, man. Ultimately, I think justice was served. I tell you, the person that comes out the worst out of all this, and it sucks to say, but the pile-on of Tom Aspinall now, man. Like,
the bleep and bleeps didn't help at the end,
It's not. It was bad. Waldo Cortes-Acosta laid it out there. I felt bad for Tom, and we talked about it, last week. It's completely unfair to compare the situations. Every eye poke is going to be different. There's a difference between, a partial vision blur versus constant. So, but I felt bad because immediately you knew people were going to pile on Tom Aspinall.
So this is where things kind of get a little bit interesting, right? Because then peek behind the curtain. After the card is over, probably not in most jurisdictions, but definitely in Nevada, we do this, is we go back and we have a debrief after every card. So the judges sit there, the refs and the doctors, all of them come into the debrief. We get medical updates on fighters that either A, had to go to the hospital, or B, got sutured, or things of that nature. We get updates.
I didn't know that was part of it. Part of it.
And then we talk decisions, we talk differences in rounds, and then we talk explain yourself, Eric. Like, I've had to explain myself. Like, why did you stop this fight? There may be disagreement. And then, at the end of the day, I'm like, well, I was tracking the eyes, and then, okay, we didn't see that. We have faith that you made the right call. We thought it was a little bit early, but you were tracking the eyes, and I'm getting the subtle hints and things of that, right? So all that is happening in these debriefs. And of course, this has to happen. We have a pre-brief before the card and a debrief after the card. And in the pre-brief, it's refs and doctors. And then after, it's everybody, because we go through everything. So, of course, the Tom Aspinall situation is brought up. Right. Now, opinions are given, and we're talking with the doctors, and they're like, well, there ended up being no abrasion on their eye. There was absolutely no damage to their eye. What did it actually even go into his eyes? Because a lot of the replay looked like the eyes were closed, the lids were closed. So did the fingernails? There's nothing to definitively say that a finger went into the eye. Obviously, he got eye poked, but did it touch the physical? There was no abrasion on the eye, this, that, and the other. And so, we're kind of think-taking and talking all this, especially because now when anything big, high profile, now the ABC has to get involved a little bit, and where they're going to be re-looking at eye pokes coming up this week. And who knows, a vote may be happening about what is going to happen with eye pokes. Stay tuned, everybody. Okay? Yeah. With that being said, obviously in the second highest profile bout of the night on this fight night, an eye poke happens. It has to happen, right? Nobody knocked on wood. Okay. And so it happened, and they put dye in his eye after the fight to find an abrasion on the eye. That even if you didn't have visual evidence, now you have physical evidence that there was an eye poke. Flip that with the Tom Aspinall situation, it's different.
Yeah. Completely.
You know what I mean? And so that just lends to more people piling on and more people. And so I don't want to have that discussion because I'm not Tom Aspinall.
Right.
But I do know what, I do know what a gamer old boy is. I do know what a gamer Acosta is because he got poked in the eye. And at first he says, I can't see. And then when he realizes I have a chance, he's like, wait, it's getting better.
I can see.
I can see now. I can see it miraculously. The heavens opened up and I can see now. And then right after the fight, I couldn't see shit.
Yeah, it's funny, and I'll stand exactly where I stood last week. I don't change my mind. Tom Aspinall deserved the opportunity to walk away from that. Again, every eye poke is different, and again, if
he
you
didn't
can't
foul
see
himself,
anything at all,
I stand with you. He did not foul himself.
But I think Waldo Cortes-Acosta, I guess, gets to gain a little bit more. I mean, that helped his reputation. I think people are going to be like, wow, this guy said, hell with it, I'm fighting anyway. You know what I mean? So much respect to him. Crazy situation. Hey, I love the details of the debriefs, though. In fact, I didn't even know the injury update was in there, which I think that's cool because it's almost like, A, just let me know somebody's okay, or B, hold you accountable, right? For like, bro, that dude had a concussion and you were the one that was in there, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that's so important to see, especially because, obviously you see it throughout the night. Jeff Mullen will take the judges after every single bout and just have a quick discussion immediately after every single bout about, where they stood on certain rounds. But I hear that a lot from the fans about like, well, where's the accountability or where's the review or where is this? And it's like they assume the fights are over and everybody just, grabs their bag and heads out and drives home and never thinks about it again. And like, that's not the case at all. Like, not only are you reconciling on site with exactly what happened, but there is accountability and there is discussion and there is education.
There's so much accountability that other judges and refs are chiming in to either A, affirm or B, deny. And this doesn't play out in front of the public so you can speak more freely, right? And just to put it in perspective, there was, I think, 2 rounds where judges were split, and there was so much talk, and it didn't change the winners of fights. It didn't change who won or lost, but there's so much focus in the debrief about why were there the differences in these 2 rounds over at 12 fights. Majority went the distance. There was a difference in 2 rounds. 2 rounds total.
Pretty good. That's pretty damn good track record.
And that was the focus from Executive Director Jeff Mullen. We need to decide why. And not from an angry standpoint. Nobody was right and wrong. I think it was in the high-profile women's fight. I'm forgetting their names. It was
Norma Dumont, Ketlevier, and Norma Dumont.
I was a judge. I was a ref, not in that fight. So I'm sitting in the commission seat. I'm sitting next to 2 judges, and we're fans at that point. And we're talking, and we all decided it all came down to round number 2. Who'd you have? Who'd you have? We were split.
Yeah, it was that close. It was that close. I just think it's important to know like how much review happens, how much care. That's not to say that I'm saying that every judge gets every round right or every referee makes every decision correctly. We're all humans, right? And you're gonna make mistakes. It's a high pressure situation. It's a fast paced situation. There's a ton of variables, going on. So I'm not saying that everybody gets it right every time, but I just the narrative that's out there sometimes that like, these judges, these referees, they don't care. Nobody holds them accountable, blah, blah, blah. It's just not true. It's not true. And so I just think if you want to criticize a decision, if you want to criticize a referee choice, whatever, that's fine. That's what we get to do as fans, as media members, as people that just love the sport. Like, it's stuff to talk about. But I just always want to get rid of that narrative that like the people that are in the seat, the people that are in the cage don't care. You know what I mean? And they don't take these decisions, that they take them lightly or that they walk away and they're just like, whatever. It's like, they impact people's career and they don't care. Like, no, man, they care and they're trying to do the best they can.
And like, listen, if you're on the wrong end of something as a judge or an official, not only did you care that night, you care the next day and the next week. I can't tell you how much things still kind of haunt me for bad misjudgments. And it was like, even from very low level pros, and it still haunts me, so they do care. I've sat with judges, he's like, man, I messed up tonight. Like in the next morning at breakfast, I can't shake it. I can't, and it bothers, and sometimes you don't have the angle that everybody else has. And there's so many reasons, but everybody cares. I do want to go back to the eye poke though, really quick, because one of the things that I was thinking about later that night is that, some people had a problem with it restarting in the way everything happened. I want to go all the way back to the Chris Weidman fight. I forgot who he was fighting, but he poked his guy in the eye that led to a fight-ending sequence. It was his last win. And do you remember it? I still remember Gary Copeland was a referee on it. Do you remember this? We talked about it a lot.
Let me pull it up. It was his last one. I'm trying to remember the sequence. Against Bruno Silva, the technical decision.
Then it was no, it was a TKO finish.
That he won?
Yeah.
That would have been a while back. His last TKO was Vitor Belfort way back in 2015.
Oh no. Was Gary Copeland the referee on his last win?
Oh, let me see that. I'm trying to remember. Now I feel bad. I mean, obviously, like
I believe it was.
I always tell people I do not have a photographic memory, man. I have to like get myself back in there. Gary Copeland was the win over. It was so. I think what you're remembering is the fight stopped at 2:18 of the third round, but it was not because it was Gary Copeland. It was Bruno Silva, but it went to the cards at that point. It went to the cards. So it was a technical decision because it ended early. It ended at 2:18 of the third round.
I don't remember it happening that way. So never mind. I remember it being a TKO finish because he called off the bout. So that must have been, in my opinion, I bet you that was retroactive.
You're 100% right. It was originally scored a TKO victory. And it was because now all right, it's coming back to you now. Yeah. It was ruled a TKO victory. But then they reviewed the footage afterwards and like, no, that sequence was an eye poke, so we got to go. Luckily, it was in the third round, so you're like, all right, we'll turn in your partial round, and we got it. No,
but I don't think that happened at the time. It didn't happen at the time. That must happen upon appeal or something, because that night it was a TKO victory. I'm almost certain. And so because they made him turn in the scorecards, which is normal.
Well, I was going to say, which is a good thing that they did, right? That's. I think that's the thing that people don't realize sometimes too, is that you still have to turn in your scorecard on a partial round in case you have to retroactively come back and do something. You still turn in even if it's a finish.
It just made me go back to that fight, and I was like, okay, well, if that happened in the first round, like what would have been the options if we had a Herb Dean working the RO?
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, anyways, with that being said. It did make it for a very interesting fight night. That was a very non-name branded card. I think that's a good way of saying what that card was.
Absolutely. And ended up causing some intrigue for sure.
That's for damn sure. I mean, it's still a very, talked about,
and it will be. It will be, and it'll continue to be talked about, especially this week, because you do have kind of a smaller Apex card. I actually won't even be there because I fly back from CFFC on Saturday and I get in a little bit later. But it's not a big card, as you mentioned. So this storyline is going to go on until the following week when it's UFC 322 in Madison Square Garden. And at that point, this will no longer be discussed. The page will be turned because we'll be in Madison Square Garden with a massive pay-per-view event.
Well, just so we're not overlooking Randy Brown versus Gabriel Bonfim. If you guys remember, Bonfim had the controversial win over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson at UFC Nashville. But now he gets a main event spot. And now that we said we talked about it, let's look ahead to UFC 322 at MSG. Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev, and from again Madison Square Garden. The welterweight champion of the world, the lightweight champion of the world, vacating his belt, coming up to then a title chance, first fight. And this is, I think it was flying under the radar a little bit, but now it feels like just a big fight feel. And I really think it's just because Jack Della Maddalena kind of came out of nowhere.
I did too. That's what I think as well, just because, not that people saw him on a rise, but not necessarily as like being champion this quick. And so this was never a fight that we thought about. Like I never once until this fight was announced thought, I wonder what would happen if Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev fought. I never thought about it. You know what I mean? Like that you do sometimes. You don't fantasy matchmake. And so when they put it together, you kind of scratch your head a little bit and go, But now that it's, almost here, and of course on Fight Week, man, I mean, it's a huge, huge fight, massive for the legacy of Islam Makhachev and massive for the opportunity of Jack Della Maddalena. I mean, to prove his legitimacy and to beat an all-time great. I mean, how fast would his stock rise if he wins here? I mean, unbelievable.
just think about it this way. Let's take away his winning streak that he had going into it. And that was, a lot. It was a huge winning streak. He lost his first two, has won him off there. But let's go with his past 3 fights: Kevin Holland, Gilbert Burns, Belal Muhammad. And now who I'm saying, Belal Muhammad, I was like, this guy's going to reign forever. I think he's so good. And he lost his first defense. I egg on my face. Imagine if Jack is able to knock off Islam. Now you have Gilbert Burns, Kevin Holland, Belal Muhammad, Islam Makhachev. This guy is going to be a global superstar if he can knock this. And I'm saying we will look to break this down next week. But what I'm telling you, from what I saw him do to Belal Muhammad, this is not a gimme fight for Islam Makhachev. I'm going to tell you that. And I don't know what the lines are, and I guarantee you the lines are overvaluing or undervaluing Jack Della Maddalena. I just assume it. I haven't even seen it. But
yeah, I would agree. I think this is a great fight. I believe it's a 13-fight win streak against a 15-fight win streak. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, the runs that these two guys are on, it's absolutely unbelievable. And you're right, man. I think that this will be so big because in a lot of situations, if a champ moves up and the higher weight class wins, you go, well, all you did was beat the guy that was in a lower weight class. But I don't think anybody looks at Islam Makhachev like that. You know what I mean? This dude was massive for the lightweight division, had some horrible weight cuts, and he's been such a dominant force and a dominant challenger that I don't think anybody thinks he's kind of out of his depth at 170 pounds. Like, no, he's legit. He could have been competing here all along, perhaps, if he wanted to. So, I mean, this is a legitimate contender. But you're right, man. Jack Della Maddalena, the real deal, man. Again, maybe people weren't necessarily feeling him and eyeing him as a UFC champion, but now that he's in the spot and you look at the run he's on, you're right, it's incredible. So I am intrigued by this. I'm super intrigued by it. And it leads right into the co-main event as well in a similar situation where this is one that I think people have been thinking about for a while, that it's like this is a super, I mean, this is one of the biggest women's fights of all time for Valentina Shevchenko and Zhang Weili. I mean, this is unbelievable. Again, a strawweight champ moving up to flyweight to challenge one of the all-time greats. So I mean, just a 1-2 punch of two fighters that are kind of in the same position, right? Where they gave up their title and they're moving up for greatness to attack another division. And with the women's fight, it's two of the best to ever do it. So I love that women's fight as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the MSG card. I just like anything in Madison Square Garden, it's going to be big. And the size of Islam at lightweight is going to be, I still think he's a big welterweight. That's crazy to say.
No, I agree.
I'm going to off air text you a picture that was sent to me, and your CFFC welterweight champion of the world, Kevin Peace, was brought in to help out in that camp. Did you know that?
I did. Yeah, seen him out there, man, helping out. I love that he's getting that. Kevin Peace, by the way, planning on moving down to 155 pounds in his next bout. So look forward to that. But I love seeing him going to get that high level training. Did you see the picture of him and Islam standing next to each other? Yeah, amazing. Islam fought at lightweight. I know. It's crazy. Islam makes Kevin look like a small child. I know. Trust me. I think that's part of the reason he's like, I need to be at 55. I'm like, if this dude was fighting 55, I definitely need to be at 55 at the highest level. Islam's a monster, man. But yeah, I was super excited to see Kevin Peace out there getting that high level training, man. Love seeing our guys get that. By the way, can I just throw out there, Madison Square Garden? I mean, we got a lot of CFFC representatives on that card. Fatima Klein, Kyle Dawkins, Pat Sabatini, Aaron Blanchfield. I mean, and of course, at the top of the list, Sean Brady against Michael Morales. So, man, this is a very CFFC heavy pay-per-view.
That fight is the sleeper that's not getting talked about. That fight, Michael Morales, he's good. He really is so good, man. But Sean Brady this is going to be so interesting where whatever happens in this fight, because Sean Brady is on this assault. I call it not even a rise. It's like an assault of looking like he's not going to be denied. But then what if you have Islam sitting there, or Jack Della Maddalena who could stave off takedowns? And then if you can do that, this welterweight division, is the exact opposite of what the heavyweight division is right now. It is so awesomely healthy.
It's so true, and you're so right. And I mean, it lines up perfectly for Sean, right? Like, number one, obviously a chance to fight in Madison Square Garden, close to home. He loves that. That's great. But to have a high-level welterweight fight like that on the same night as the champion, it's a good thing, right? It really gives you an opportunity to be right there in front of him. The schedules just line up perfectly. You're fighting on the same night, so you'll both get the same amount of rest, etc. But it just gives you a chance for everybody to associate your names together of like, well, who's next? Well, we just saw that amazing performance. Now, granted, he's got a tough challenge, but I respect Sean Brady so much for this too, because guys that are willing to fight down in the rankings, guys that aren't trying to sit on their number, that aren't trying to say, hey, I've been around much longer than this kid. He hasn't done what it takes to fight me, to be willing to go out there. And Sean has said in some interviews, and I love it. He's like, dude, if you're the champ, if your goal is to be the champ, you got to fight everybody anyway. So why wouldn't I just go ahead and fight him now? And I love that attitude. And I'm so excited because it's a big opportunity for Sean Brady. So yeah, big CFFC heavy card. So I'm pretty excited. I'm going to fly out there on Friday of fight week. So I'll be at Madison Square Garden on fight week. So I'm looking forward to that one.
That's awesome, man. I wish I could join you. Where you got going out this weekend?
Heading out to Philadelphia this week. We've got CFFC 148 on Friday night from the legendary 2300 Arena. Dean Thomas will be on the call with me, so definitely tune in on UFC Fight Pass. Heavyweight titles on the line. Ante Garcia obviously had that disappointing result on Dana White's Contender Series, but he is back looking to defend his heavyweight title, looking to start that charge again. He has changed his training. He's changed. I mean, he's like, man, I talked to him. He's like, I'm so glad actually things worked out the way they did, because it really forced me to put a magnifying glass on everything and really look at every situation and what I'm doing. He's like, I've changed everything. So this is a big opportunity for him. Facing Larry Gonzalez, it was supposed to be Darian Abbey. Darian Abbey had to withdraw. Larry Gonzalez steps in for the biggest opportunity of his career. I actually talked to Larry. Larry said he was actually offered Ante Garcia on Contender Series and initially turned it down and felt that he wasn't ready. He's like, so this is just destiny that now this fight came together. He steps in on short notice. So definitely looking forward to that. Co-main event, a couple of undefeated welterweights with Ito Babalatsi, Kyle Hill. So good card. Look, it's going to be a banger. And 2300 Arena, man, a legendary professional wrestling venue. And obviously we've had a lot of great fights there. Great volume in there. It's always a lot of fun. By the way, shout out to CM Punk on the professional wrestling scene, right? It was a busy weekend. Come on, my boy Punk's the champ.
Love the Duke.
That was awesome. I mean, Punk is all class. He always has been, man. I know that some people, say whatever, but I love the guy, man. He's such a classy dude, and that was such a classy gesture. I know that Duke meant a lot to him, man. Like, he spoke a lot, behind the scenes. We've had a lot of conversations, and those same conversations that you've heard the Pettis brothers, Paul Felder talk about what an influence and what a meaningful guy was. Punk has that same thing, and obviously Punk was already a superstar and, could have had a big head or whatever when he got involved in mixed martial arts, but he didn't. And he had a hell of a lot of respect and reverence for Duke Rufus. So that was cool. I thought that was such a nice touch, man. And, it doesn't make the loss any easier, but it was super cool. And I was happy to see Punk get the belt again, man. It was awesome.
Well, and I just think watching it, those who knew. You know what I mean? I think that's something cool.
Right, like it's not crazy overstated or whatever, but it's like if you know what I mean. You're like, that's special, Yeah. Super cool.
Well, good stuff. I got a crazy busy week. I got a game tonight, Monday. I got a game Monday. I got a game Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday.
That's crazy, man. A busy week. Hey, welcome home.
Well, anyways, with that being said, for John Morgan, I'm Eric McMahon. Enjoy the fights.